This is HBR News number 533. It's a holiday in little Somalia. We'll be discussing the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello everybody and welcome back to Honey Badger Radio. Hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of the absurdity so that you're not consumed by it. I'm your host, Brian, and I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Hannah Wallen and Dr. Randermacam. On today's show, Hello. HBR News, we're going to be talking about this recent business of fraud in Minnesota. No, not voter fraud. It's more of a financial fraud and exploitation of, well, victimization of children, I guess you could say. There is news of a serial killer in Ohio that might be more interesting than you think, a sex trafficking Nebraska teacher, and more, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So I was just kind of like looking around on our Discord server. We have a room called Show Topic Suggestions where people can just like throw us stuff. And we have a few people that tend to post a lot in there with lots of every single interaction, basically. But sometimes there's like a nugget of something interesting. And I found a YouTube channel by a male feminist, I can only assume, or a male leftist anyway, called Hawk Podcasts. And he made this, I'm not going to play it here, we'll watch it in the patron show, but he made a video showing his absolute disdain for the male loneliness epidemic, and that it is something that men have brought upon themselves. And so we're going to watch this video, and look at his channel and just kind of look around and stuff, and see, you know, how deep his compassion for the downtrodden, because that's sort of like what his brand is, how far that extends to young men that are frustrated and lonely and, you know, dealing with all kinds of personal issues. And we're going to do that in the patron show. So if you guys want to join us in the patron show, then become a Badger. Go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe to join us for the Discord server where all of the additional content is. And you can also check it out for free. If you have Discord and you want to join, just go to badgernation.online and you'll have access to some of the larger community spaces on our Discord server, and you'll get like a feel for, you know, what the folks down here are about. And we have like a wide variety of people there, and some people have like gotten married in the server and hooked up in the server. It's crazy. So anyway, feedthebadger.com/subscribe to join us. BadgerNation.online to check out the Discord for yourself, and that's what we're going to be talking about in the patron show. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that our content's been yeeted from the internet, then go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. That is where all of our content lives. All right, so without further ado, let us get into today's stories. All right, so Minnesota. This is like the biggest one this week. It's kind of a slow news week, not a lot going on, but I could not ignore this one any longer, so we're just going to talk about it. And I think we can spin it in a way, well, not say spin it, because that suggests we're going to alter facts. We're going to be able to discuss it in a way that a lot of people don't, I think. And that is from the purely perspective of how is this like a product of, you know, let's say a disdain for men, or like the kind of like treatment of men as more of a tax resource than a actual, like, you know, human being that contributes to society. Like, where does this come from? But anyway, Minnesota has been rocked by a series of fraud scandals involving taxpayer-funded social programs, with the most prominent being the Feeding Our Future case, a $250 to $300 million scheme that exploited federal child nutrition funds during the COVID-19 pandemic. Prosecutors allege defendants, including nonprofit founder Amy Bach, convicted in 2025 on wire fraud and bribery charges, falsely claimed to serve millions of meals to children while pocketing funds for luxury purchases, real estate, and overseas transfers. As of late 2025, this has led to over 78 indictments, more than 57 convictions, and recoveries of only about $60 to $75 million. The scandal has expanded to other programs, or at least we're discovering them, including autism services, housing stabilization, and Medicaid-related initiatives, with federal estimates suggesting potential losses exceeding $1 billion across 14 state-run programs since 2018, many tied to lax oversight. Recent developments escalated in late December of 2025 when a viral video by influencer Nick Shirley, viewed over 100 million times, exposed allegedly abandoned child care centers in Minneapolis receiving millions in state funds through the Child Care Assistance Program, the CCAP. One highlighted facility, the Quality Leaning Center, with a misspelled sign that should have read learning. This is like a learning center that can't spell the word learning. Just to let that sink in, reportedly received $1.9 million in 2025 and $4 million total, despite appearing deserted and showing no signs of children. This prompted an immediate surge of federal resources. DHS and FBI agents conducted on-site investigations, leading to swift closures of implicated centers. FBI Director Kash Patel described the Feeding Our Future case as the tip of a very large iceberg, vowing ongoing probes, while critics, including congressional Republicans, have blamed state oversight failures under Governor Tim Walz. The fallout continues, heightened national scrutiny, political backlash targeting Minnesota's Somali community. Many defendants are Somali American, like the majority of them, and calls for broader accountability in welfare programs. And I'll go ahead and play this clip. This is a minute and 17 seconds from the Nick Shirley video, just so you guys have a little bit more context, and then I will give the floor to Mike or Hannah. So
here in Minnesota, massive fraud is taking place within the government and the Somali population. Here, this building alone, Quality Learning Center, is a daycare, yet they spelled learning wrong, and they said leering. This daycare alone in 2025 has received $1.9 million from the government. And the strange things about these childcare centers is there's no one here right now. It's midday on a weekday. If you were to try to go inside, it's completely closed and the windows are all blacked out. No one's working, midday. Children should be in here, and this place is licensed for 99 children, and this is the outside. There's no windows, no nothing. And like I said, they literally spelt the word wrong on their sign. This is open and blatant fraud taking place here inside of Minnesota. The government is complicit with this, and this is just one of the hundreds of child daycare centers here inside of Minneapolis being ran by the Somali population. It's sad that it's happening here in Minnesota, and it stinks that it's happening and it's being labeled on the Somali population. However, that's just the facts of what's happening here inside of Minnesota. $1.9 million for this daycare center that can't even spell learning right.
All right. So, and of course, Tim Walz and others are, let's just say, they are running cover for this, and they're saying now that because Nick Shirley showed up and recorded this stuff, he is in fact a racist. I don't know if you guys knew that, but if you go and expose people,
racist against who?
Racist and Islamophobic. Yes,
like the invisible.
He is.
I'm sorry. Go. Whoever wants to talk, go ahead. I'm gonna mute.
Go on, Hannah.
How could you be racist against nobody? Against like non-existent? There's nobody there. Nobody runs the place. Nobody is working, and nobody is dropping their children off there, and no children are there to attend. So who is the victim of the racism? Who is the target of the racism that this is alleged? I'm curious. I'm dying of curiosity there. That's all. I'll say the rest after
no, they actually sent out apparently one of the people involved in the program, a Somali guy, and they actually, I swear to God, they did this morning. They bussed in a bunch of children. I don't know where they got them, but they bust a bunch of children in so they can do a photo op with the children, and they brought out a Somali guy to say, "Look, we're here. Where are you? Why are you racist?" Something to that effect, basically.
Basically, if you don't let us steal from you and lie to you, then you're racist. Yeah. I see.
But anyway, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, as scandalous as all of this is, when you walk into a facility that's allegedly serving 100 children, and you find 0 children, that's some obvious fraud. But I have to wonder what the reaction would be if you walked into that facility and you did indeed find 100 Somalian children eating like kings on the taxpayer's dime. Would you go, oh, okay, that's all right then? Personally, I don't know if I can bring myself to exactly agree. You don't get special treatment just because you're a child, let alone a Somali child. Just like you don't get to set up an illegal lemonade stand. After all, you might be coughing and snotting into it and spreading infectious toxins to innocent people for profit. Just because you're a child doesn't mean laws don't apply to you, fucky little shit. I have the same issue when it comes to the small boats crossing the English Channel. I'm as annoyed as the next man when it comes to the liars lying to us about how they're all women and children. But even if they were women and children, I'd be like, how the fuck is that any better? If anything, it's worse. The fighting age men might be unwilling to work, but at least they're capable of working. Children are not. They're just mouths to feed. And pardon my scrotum, but it's not my job to feed them. It's not the taxpayer's job to feed them. It's their parents' job. And they can bloody well do that in their own fucking country. Even if your country is currently at war, these boat people are not coming from war-torn countries, certainly not from wars that have anything to do with you or me. Sure, our governments are largely at fault, so fucking go to Tony Blair's house, go to George Bush's house, go to the vast complexes of empty mansions that these war criminals bought with their blood money. We didn't do shit. Leave us the fuck alone. You know what we do with our children when we're at war? We had a huge bloody war like 80 years ago. You know where we sent the children so as to keep them safe? The fucking countryside in our own country. We just moved them 100 miles down the road from the parts of the country getting bombed to the parts of the country not getting bombed. If we could afford it. And some people moved all the way to America if they could afford it. If you couldn't afford any of the above, yah boo, sucks to be you. You had to go ahead and raise your children in a war zone. No one ever gave a shit about British women and children except British men. No one ever gave a shit about American women and children except American men. And they still don't. If our women and children turned up in Somalia, they'll get kidnapped and held for ransom. Or just, something far worse that doesn't quite bear thinking about. So yeah, when everyone has learned their lesson about the way governments fraudulently steal our money to give to children that don't exist, please consider learning a lesson about the way governments fraudulently steal our money to give to children that do exist. As much as I despise the term suicidal empathy when used as a euphemism for oikophobia, if the term can ever be used applicably, it's when it comes to this shit. But what about the women and children? We can't just give them nothing. Yes, we can. Pardon. The fucking bollocks to women and children. Women can work the mills, children can work the mines. And if you don't like it, you can fuck right off.
There you
And that's
go.
just our own women and children. If it's women and children from bumfuck Fuckistan, and all they've ever done is rob us and colonize us, they shouldn't even get the privilege of working in the mills or in the mines. Hop, skip, jump, my dudes. Hippity hoppity, get off our property. Go back to Fuckistan. I feel bad for you. I really do. But hey, I feel bad all the time about all kinds of shit. Join the queue of things I feel bad about and see if you ever make it to the front. I don't fancy your chances. But hey, I'm not in charge. That fat retard Tim Walz is in charge, so whatever. I suppose I respect the hustle. Carry on.
All right. So my take on this is going to be a little weird in a couple of ways, and part of it is because this is I know a lot of people are shocked by this, and I'm not, and I have good reasons. it's basically because I have been working since I was a teenager here in the United States, and I have usually had 2 or 3 jobs at a time during my adult time working. Um, so I've worked with a lot of people. I've worked with the people from the United States. I've worked with foreign nationals who are working in the United States. I've also been the beneficiary of receiving goods and services from workers who were United States citizens versus foreign nationals who are in the United States, including the Indian doctor that saved my life when I had encephalitis from a mosquito bite when I was 12. So there's been a variety of experiences that I've had with workers that I just named a good one, right? And I've also had bad experiences with workers from other countries. And I've had some insights from workers from other countries where, I've asked, why is this happening? And how can I communicate better with this individual? And a fellow citizen from their country said, don't fall for that bullshit. He knows better and he's lying to you. And then went on to tell me that in some African countries, when people come to the United States as refugees, their friends and family members, the people working in the system with them as well, also tell them how to exploit white people's fear of being accused of racism in the United States. And so I've had coworkers that I thought, oh, the problem is I'm not communicating effectively. The problem is this person doesn't know our culture. This person doesn't know how this thing is done. This person comes from a country where men don't do these things, only women. No. The problem was this person was lying and trying to get out of work and accusing us in the workplace of racism for expecting him to do the same tasks that the rest of us were obligated to do as part of our job. And it was quite a wake up call, right? Quite a wake up call. So there's just because there are people who are here who are actually good workers and actually doing a good job does not mean that these individuals that are scamming the public can rightfully accuse you of racism and claim that they're doing a good job when they're not. They're not doing the job. They were stealing. They were openly stealing. And I think that it's not going to fly this time. I think that they're using the method that they were taught at home, that they were taught to use racism as a cover, use allegations of racism as a cover to essentially stop you, a thought terminating cliche, right? To essentially stop you from criticizing their behavior when they do things like this. This isn't a one-off. It isn't even a behavior that is unique to Somalia. The guy that I had this experience with and the lady that told me what he was actually doing, they were Nigerian. Okay. And I have worked with people from several other African countries. And over the years, I have had similar experiences with people from every country that I have encountered, residents from, citizens of, from Africa, where they've come over and expected to be able to behave like assholes. I guess I can't think of a better word. And if you don't like it, then calling you racist stops you from complaining. And that's the way it is. And some of them have done illegal things And calling you racist is supposed to stop you from complaining, claiming to not understand because it's a different culture, is supposed to protect them from prosecution. And claiming that the only reason that you're doing anything about their behavior is because of the color of their skin, not because the behavior itself is bad. That's a method of operation that is consistent across one race, that is shared throughout multiple countries, that is trained before they come over, and that is employed in a similar to almost identical manner every time there is an incident. So don't fall for it, because it's bullshit. Now, are they behaving any different from the BLM crew? No. And what did they do when they got caught with multiple infractions of fraud, stealing money from people who thought that police brutality was the subject, and poor innocent gang members and drug addicts and so on are being slaughtered by police, and there needs to be this big protest. How many people funded that? And it went into this woman's mansion. What did they say? Oh, you're just racist. You just hate black people. No, we hate fraud. We hate liars. We hate people who steal from us. And most black people don't do that. But you did. And using racism as a cover is a way of smearing the rest of the population, the rest of the black population, with your crimes. They don't deserve that. You do. You did it. It's your fault. And that's the way that we need to behave every single time this happens. Don't you foist this off on other black people. Nobody's blaming them. We're blaming you because you did it. We're blaming you as a person. And you can't use racism as a cover anymore. It's bullshit. And we won't accept it. Meanwhile, we need to take the same stance with Uncle Sam. Just because the government is doing it instead of the citizen doesn't make it okay. Authority doesn't make fraud okay. The level of fraud that we found just looking at feminist initiatives and women's initiatives on the USA spending website several months ago when that came out, just was unfathomable. Billions of dollars sent overseas to organizations that were lying about what they were doing while people pocketed the money. It is amazing how much of the federal budget is just money laundering for people who lie about helping other people. So these guys, they're nothing new. They're not shocking. This is par for the course. This is the norm in government spending. And it needs to stop. It needs to be cut off. The purse strings need to be burned. Not just cut, but burned. Access needs to be burned. It needs to be set up so that this cannot happen again. It's not just good enough to stop it at this point. Nobody needs to be able to do this. And nobody should be allowed to do this again. And we're arguing in our political arena over whether or not it's racism. Dude, you're being robbed blind. Men are being robbed blind to pay for this shit. It is, like I said before, time for men to start running for office, local first, and then expand to county and state, and move your way up the ladder. young men in the men's rights movement because nobody else is putting a stop to this shit. Musk exposed a lot of it. Many journalists have been through that site. Right? They're not doing jack shit about it. The Democrats aren't doing jack shit about it. The Republicans aren't doing jack shit about it. The Libertarians aren't doing jack shit about it. It is time for the men's rights movement, young men in this country who are fed up with being robbed blind, who are sick and tired of not being able to follow the American dream as you were told growing up. Go to school, get married, get a job, pay off your loans, buy a house, and all that. Have 2 cars and a TV and a dog and a cat and however many kids, 2.5 kids or whatever it is. Run for office. Start making those changes. Start cutting this shit off. Start burning it out. Start eliminating it. Because you're the only people who will. Nobody else is doing anything. And I'm sorry, Gen X isn't gonna do it. We are just about, some of us are young still for being old, but we're just about to that point where you're going to start putting the older ones of us in nursing homes. So it's too late to count on us. It's up to millennials and Zoomers. And there you go. And it should be men. It should not be women, because women are not good at budgeting.
Yep. Well, if you're just getting free money, you're not going to think about like where it comes from, what the actual cost is, things like that. So I just want to add to, I know you guys probably know this, but I'm just saying for clarity, Somalia, which is where these people came from, is widely regarded as exhibiting characteristics of what we call a kleptocracy, a system where rulers and elites exploit political power for personal enrichment through systemic corruption, often at the expense of public resources and development. So like they exploit themselves. Like it's the system they're coming from, and they come here and they have the same mentality, but like there's more riches to exploit, there's more to take. So why wouldn't they do that? And it's just a commentary, if anything, that it is a culture that just like has that, right? They've always had that. That's why Somali pirates are a thing. And I say that this is what makes it different from, say, a country like Ethiopia or Nigeria, which is like a lot more, they have a higher moral framework because there's a lot of Christianity there, and that's where they get it from, or places that were perhaps formerly colonized that are no longer colonized, that still sort of like hold on to some of those things. So yeah, there's that as well. There has also been some recent developments, like it looks like Ilhan Omar may be implicated in some of this as more of this is coming to light, but this is all kind of breaking. I mean, these things don't happen very quickly, so we have to like wait and see what the outcomes are. Obviously, people are very upset and they want like arrests and all kinds of shit to happen right now, but this is just not the way these things go. You have to build a case, you have to, do interviews and investigations. These things take time. But I do think that, this is definitely not going away, and it can't really be hidden. And allegations of racism or of Islamophobia or xenophobia or whatever, they're just not landing with people anymore. Like I'm just seeing everywhere I look, and at one point in time, and I've been doing this for over 10 years, I remember when allegations of an ism or a phobia would make people recoil, and they were like, oh my God, what do I have to like find a way to make the argument that essentially says I'm not those things because of X, Y, and Z. Nowadays, people are like, I don't care. You're just using that as a bludgeon. It doesn't mean anything. I'm just going to carry on. You have committed a crime. We're going to investigate it. I don't care what color your skin is, whatever. We're going to see this through, right? We're going to enforce the law, which is really the only thing we could ask for. And I don't know what this is going to do for the leadership in Minnesota, but I can tell you that it is one of the more corrupt states. Somalia, by the way, one of the most corrupt countries in the world, right behind like South Sudan, which is, I guess, even worse somehow. So there is that. But on the plus side, I do have some breaking news. The Quality Leering Center is fixing the spelling on their sign. So this means that they're doubling down. They're actually going to fix it. And I even have video evidence of somebody driving past that is showing that they're actually going to be addressing the spelling error because, you know, we got to get our priorities right. So I guess we are going to call it the right thing, which is it's too bad because that was a decent meme for a while there. So,
You can still meme it. I mean, people are still
will
memeing,
still meme
memeing the
it. They will
billboard.
definitely meme it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
they definitely
you
will.
know that billboard where the city praised their pubic schools for a few days and
Their
before
pubic schools.
correcting. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should never leave out the L if you're going to misspell that word.
All right.
Which it's funny because that happened prior to the whole gender ideology thing making the news when people didn't realize what was going on in the schools and it was pubic. But yeah, them changing it, them fixing it doesn't mean that you can't meme the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend changing the phone number as well, because I imagine your switchboards are pretty lit up right now.
Yeah, right. Pretty sure nobody answers the phone. All right, so let me just really quickly greet some people in the chat, and then we're gonna move on to the next story. But let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments, especially them fixing the spelling error. That's good news. All right. Hello to Nimna. Sorry, Red Stapler. Men Bubnur, sorry if I'm butchering your name. Oikophobic Misanthrope, Richard Bier, Matt Watton, Albatross, Gabriel Phelan Lucas, Meredith G, Gin Bottle, Yago Kuno, and I already said Richard Bier, and in the special chat, the Threshold Moment. And in Rumble, Meow Forcina, Shadow Wolf 87, and Nautish. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show, Zeranx. All right. Again, send us a super chat or a super chow. Allison says the super chows are stuck, so I guess if you did try to send us a super chow, maybe just send in a regular comment with what your comment was. If it's too big for YouTube or Rumble, then I'll have to wait until Allison fixes the super chows, but she says that they're stuck. So not my problem. So I don't deal with that stuff. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next story.
Probably a WordPress issue. WordPress has been a pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's a WordPress issue. Yeah, it is. All right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the next story. All right. This one comes out of Ohio. Rebecca Auburn, a 35 or 36-year-old woman from Columbus, Ohio, pleaded guilty on December 19, 2025 to 4 counts of murder and 1 count of felonious assault in a case described by Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost as serial killings. So she's a serial killer. Yost. Dave Yost.
Like toast.
Okay. Yeah, I said Yost. Yost. Dave Toast. That's what I'm going to call him now. Authorities.
We used to have a professor at my university called Professor Yost, and we used to call him Toast. So,
authorities allege that between December of 2022 and June of 2023, Auburn, working as a sex worker, arranged to meet men for sexual encounters at hotels in Northeast Columbus, particularly along areas like Interstate 71, State Route 161, and Cleveland Avenue. She then intentionally drugged them, often with fentanyl is back in the news again, to rob them of their belongings, cash, cards, or credit cards. The crimes included an attempted fatal overdose on one man who survived in December of 2022, followed by 4 successful fatal overdoses in early 2023 on January 15th, then April 1st, then April 13th, and June dates in some reports. The surviving victim helped investigators connect the cases, leading to Auburn's arrest in 2023 and a grand jury indictment on 28 charges, including additional counts of robbery, drug trafficking, and corrupting another with drugs. As part of a plea deal, 23 charges were dropped in exchange for her guilty plea, avoiding a trial. Auburn faces a mandatory life sentence with parole eligibility possible after 15 years per murder count, potentially consecutive as decided by the judge, plus additional time for the assault charge. Sentencing is scheduled for February 20th, 2026. Yost praised the airtight multi agency investigation by the Central Ohio Human Trafficking Task Force, Columbus Police, and Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, noting the plea brings justice and closure for victims' families, while authorities continue probing for potential additional victims in the same time frame and area. The case has drawn comparisons to other female serial killers like Eileen Wuornos due to the pattern of targeting clients during prostitution. It also reminds me of a movie. I'm gonna look it up really quick, but there was a film that that was about a woman who was I'm serious, tired of like men being shitty and took revenge on all men everywhere by pretending to be a hoe and bringing these guys back to their place and killing them. And she was the hero of the story. But anyway, I'm sure that Hannah has things to say about that. Oh, I did get the super chow. I'll go ahead and read it really quick, and then I'll let Hannah speak to the story. So Meredith sent us a super chow for 5, and she says, HBR News number 533, remember that Minnesota is the state where a Democrat legislator was murdered after casting the deciding vote to withhold social services from illegal immigrants. This state is skimming its middleman fee from the federal money that is funding and its own tax rolls that fund these scams, so 3 judges have overturned jury verdicts in these fraud cases. Everyone is turning a blind eye and calling whistleblower news racist because they profit from it. All right, thank you. Yeah, I now that you mention it, yes, I do remember that. And they were claiming that the guy who killed him was a MAGA guy or something. But anyway, yeah. So back to this story. Hannah, you're the one that submitted this one, so yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually amazed that they caught this woman because of the drug issue in Ohio, in the cities in Ohio. There is so much of an opiate addiction issue in Ohio that these deaths could have all gone under the radar as just random overdoses. And I'm sure that if that one guy hadn't survived, that's what would have happened, right? I'm sure that if that one guy that she drugged without his knowledge and consent hadn't said, hey, this woman is doing this, and then they started comparing her patterns of activity with the patterns of deaths and discovered these other deaths, she would have gone on to continue to kill and kill and kill. And there wouldn't have been this news story. There wouldn't have been this case. We wouldn't have had any idea because so many times when a man dies of a drug overdose, it's just assumed that if he wasn't known to be an addict, it's because he was hiding it really well until that one time he got that lethal overdose of fentanyl. And the story that we're getting, I'm sure they're probably telling this story all over the United States, but the story that we're getting in Dayton from our local news regarding the fentanyl epidemic in the U.S. is that the amount that can be in any pill and any dose that you get of something else that's not supposed to have fentanyl in it can be lethal. You could have a lethal dose of fentanyl in anything that you take because everything's getting laced with it because it enhances the effect of everything, or at least makes it hit you so hard that you don't know what happened. And so I'm glad that she was caught. I'm glad somebody survived and was able to testify against her. But I wonder how many other prostitutes are doing this. And this woman's probably going to play victim in the media, or at least the feminists who address this case of a female serial killer who is taking advantage of men's sex drives and men's loneliness to drug and rob multiple men. That they're gonna claim that she is the victim because they were using her for sex, but she chose to be a prostitute, and she chose to use that as her method of robbing instead of breaking into people's houses, or better yet, just getting a real job and earning a real living, which she could have done. There are plenty of jobs here. A lot of people think there are not, but then they're turning down jobs they don't like. Like my employer, for instance, has been desperately trying to hire enough people to cover all the shifts that we have for 6 years. Since before COVID, before the COVID crisis, we had a worker crisis. And women are choosing to do what this woman did instead of choosing a caregiving job that is highly rewarding and quite a an interesting career to have. So yeah, I look at this and I see the tip of the iceberg right here, sitting in that seat, looking like the character in the pudding king,
Misery.
the far side.
Oh,
No,
oh,
it's like, you ever see that comic where the cops are all sitting around this guy, and one of the cops is saying to one of the other cops, don't write that down. His name ain't Puddin' Tame. You look at her, she is going to go into a women's prison and they're going to treat her like a celebrity because she killed men and she killed a bunch of them. She drugged them and robbed them. And they're going to treat her like she's getting a little of her own back because
she's getting that bag while holding on to
yeah,
her own bag.
they all use the same sob story. A dude made me do it. A dude was hurting me, so I did it. I did it because I was a victim. I did it because I was disadvantaged. They never, women never own up when they commit crimes. So they're going to treat her like a celebrity when she goes in there. She might have to face some other women who are tough, but I will bet you she's used to that in her profession and isn't afraid of anybody. But now she's going to have free health care. She's going to have a free place to live. All of her activities and entertainment are going to be planned by the state and free. She's not going to spend a dime. She's not going to have to work for a living for the rest of her life. And women's prisons might suck in comparison to being out of prison, but they're not anything near as bad as men's prisons. So the punishment she's getting, life in prison, is not the same as sending a man to prison for life. And the other thing is, it's quite possible she could get the death penalty, but Ohio is kind of not doing the death penalty right now. We're kind of in a weird place with that. Our governor has looked at it and does not think that the death penalty actually works he's not sure. He's very skeptical as to whether it actually works as a deterrent for crime. And that's the moral justification for the death penalty, is that it is a deterrent for crime. And so if it's not, then there's no moral justification, and he won't be able to continue using it, and we may see the end of the death penalty in Ohio. But as of now, the sentence can still be handed down. And if that happens, they'll commute it to life if the death penalty goes away. If they decide to continue using the death penalty, it won't be lethal injection, because Ohio is currently looking for alternatives to that because companies don't want their drugs used for it. And they're to stop states from doing that, they're using tactics like if your state uses the death penalty, the company will just not sell any drugs in your state. They won't provide through insurance companies. They won't provide through Medicaid or Medicare. So, if you're relying on them for insulin, you're screwed. So they're basically eliminating the death penalty by virtue of not wanting to provide the supplies for it. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think anybody that's shocked that a woman would do something like this ought to look at Cardi B talking about her time as a prostitute, because this was her method as well. She did this all the time.
Yep.
And she justified it with the idea that men have it coming, and men were using her for sex and she was just using them back, and blah blah blah. But in reality, you're offering something for sale, you're offering a service for sale, and then claiming to be exploited when you chose to offer that service for sale, and using that as an excuse to victimize someone. Should your plumber do that when he comes to your house? Oh, you're making me deal with your shit. Well, actually, no, you offer to deal with my shit. So no, you can't drug me and rob me. It's not justified, right? Can your doctor, when you come to them with a contagious illness and put them at risk of contracting that illness, hold you at gunpoint and say, give me your gold watch? Like, people probably feel like that when they pay their medical bills. But when you don't pay your medical bills, they don't come after you with a gun, right? And sometimes under certain laws, medical facilities are forced to not take your money for your medical bills. Not to mention the fact that you have a whole system, if you're poor, to pay your medical bills. So your doctor can't be a comparison even. Your hospital can't even be a comparison. If you go there with an infectious disease and put everybody at risk, which is where you're supposed to go. So a prostitute doesn't have the same excuse either. But that's what we'll hear, right? I'm sure you'll start seeing on social media when this case becomes more well known. She probably won't be as famous as male serial killers are, because the media won't want to talk about her. But this case will get out there. And I guarantee you, one of the first things that's going to happen is feminists are going to be like, well, they were taking advantage of her. They had it coming. Don't accept that. Push back.
Mike?
Yeah, and this is why fentanyl should be illegal, folks. I'm going to get back on point. We're going to go around the houses on the way there. This is why fentanyl should be so illegal that it warrants international acts of war. This is where I part company from the hardcore libertarians who will go, well, if you don't want to suffer the ill effects of a drug, just don't take it, herdy-do. That's a good point to a point, but where one drug departs from another is in the degree to which it can be used as a spike, as a weapon. And it largely comes down to how small the active dose is, how small the lethal dose is, and how undetectable it is. Cannabis should be legal.
Yes.
They'll be like, why is there a bunch of greenish brown gritty lumps floating in my drink? This seems suspicious. I'm not going to drink that. And even alcohol, like, if there's a debilitating amount of alcohol in a drink, you can taste it. Even if you've never tasted alcohol before, you'll quickly notice that there's an unusually bitter, burning taste in that drink, and you'll be like, what the fuck is that? Because you need several fluid ounces of the stuff to get anyone drunk, and it can't be chemically reduced beyond that. But GHB should be illegal because it's tasteless, colorless, and odorless, and it only takes a shot or two to get someone unconscious and on the verge of death. LSD, much to my chagrin, probably should be illegal because it's tasteless, colorless, and odorless, and it only takes a thimbleful of it to get thrown into the communal punch bowl and get the whole party descending into unspeakable madness. And fentanyl should be illegal because it too only takes a thimbleful to kill someone. You can stir a tiny amount of powder into their drink, it will be undetectable, and they will die. Have you all heard of scopolamine? It's a powdered form of basically the datura flower. It's an extremely powerful deliriant, which is this whole other category of drug that no one takes anymore. Criminals use it a lot in a lot of South American countries. They sort of blow it in someone's face, and they immediately become a suggestible zombie. You can just ask them their PIN code, and they'll tell you, and then they'll accompany you to the ATM. Then you empty their bank account, and you can tell them to escort you to their house, whereupon you rob them of everything they own, and they'll just go along with it because they literally can't grasp what reality is, and they'll just take any instruction from someone who can grasp what reality is, even if it's some guy who just came up to them in the street and blew some weird powder in their face. That is why scopolamine should be illegal, because it's not even used recreationally. It is only used as a weapon. I'm just trying to find the right place to draw the line. There are some drugs that cannot be used as a weapon under any circumstances, like cannabis, and there are some drugs that are somewhere in the blurry grey line. You can try to kill someone with cocaine, but I wouldn't recommend it, because for a few minutes before they die, you're going to have to deal with cocaine bear. You can try to kill someone with Molly, but you'll need to feed them like a tablespoonful of unbelievably bitter crystals somehow without them noticing. This is the case with most drugs. They involve a foul-tasting substance that won't kill you unless you take a shitload of it. But as I said, the amount of fentanyl, you could pour some fentanyl onto your thumbnail, and that will be enough to kill someone. You could pour that into a drink, and it cannot be tasted. And even if they don't die, they'll just end up slumped over, barely able to move, and barely able to recall any experience, and barely able to do anything but the bidding of the criminal who fed it to them. That's why no one takes fentanyl on its own, just for the sake of taking it on its own. People, like Hannah said, people only take fentanyl because it has been spiked into other drugs. That's why fentanyl should be illegal, because it is used as a weapon far more than it is used recreationally. And that is why, if anyone is caught trafficking that shit across the ocean in the general trajectory of your country, you have every fucking right to blow that piece of junk out of the sky. I guarantee you'll be saving more lives than you end. And how do we bring this back to gender issues? Oh yeah, because poison is women's second favorite murder weapon, as seen in this story. Their first favorite murder weapon is men. Obviously, they use men to fight on their behalf, but we can't make men illegal. Well,
we're working on it. I mean,
yeah, we
that is
certainly
unfortunate.
shouldn't. We should just teach men not to do women's bidding, and we're working on that slowly but surely. But if we could stop flooding the country with enough deadly chemicals to kill every man on Earth, a lot fewer people will die at the hands of all these psychotic women. And if we could stop teaching women to be psychotic, I guess that would help too. You know, one small step at a time, though, you know.
Yeah.
so
You know what's sad is they give you fentanyl in hospital if you are in a situation like following a surgery or from a really bad injury where they want to relieve pain quickly, or they need something to treat pain that breaks through other painkillers. And I'm fortunate to actually have a allergy to the entire plant that opiates come from. The seeds, the pollen, the liquid from the plant, everything. So I can't have any opiate painkillers. But unfortunately, that means that you take this slower working stuff and you deal with the pain. If you're in that situation, you've had a surgery and you like they had to cut you almost in half to get a baby out. Um, which they don't give those if you're going to nurse anyway. But it's very, very highly controlled in hospitals. They give you a very tiny little amount in an IV bag full of liquid on a slow drip, and you immediately, from the people that I've sat with when they were receiving it, you immediately feel it start to take effect after it starts dripping. There's an immediate Like the relief starts immediately. So it is very, very potent, and it is 100% fair for governments to take military action to stop it from entering their nations. And that is from the standpoint of an ANCAP. It's one of the very, very few things governments should do is protect their borders. If you're going to have a government, that is the primary function that it should serve, protect your borders. And if it's not doing that, it has no purpose. So, yeah, she shouldn't have been able to get her hands on this shit. And frankly, the drug companies are partly to blame for the existence of this, because this is something that they did, and the insurance companies, by the way, medical insurance companies, for years. They would substitute. Well, you can have medication. These medications are really cheap to produce, and they're really cheap to provide. So they sell cheap. The insurance companies don't have to pay much for them, and the end result is, if you could benefit from physical therapy, but drugs will control the pain throughout the 70s and 80s and part of the 90s, that's what they did instead. You couldn't get your physical therapy. You couldn't get your help to improve your health. And then for people who had chronic conditions from the 70s through the 90s, they hit the Obama era. Actually, the Bush Jr. era is when it really started. And all of a sudden, there was this push to take away their meds with no alternative treatment available to them. And when they finally started offering alternative treatments, a lot of boomers had been on opiates for 20 to 30 years for various conditions that are now untreatable because they've been untreated with anything but these opiates, for 20 to 30 years. So they've been allowed to deteriorate for 20 to 30 years. And now they're getting told, well, massage therapy will help you. Well, learn to meditate. It's really a horrific thing. It's a really, at the level of abuse that occurred was just unbelievable. And there were people that committed suicide over it when their medications were taken away, because they knew there was nothing that they could do. To answer Jen Bottle, I'm from the U.S. I'm in Ohio. This story happened about an hour's drive, maybe 2 hours drive away from me. Really, really close. For people in the UK, that's not that far. Like, that's still in the same state. I'm in the Dayton metro area, and Columbus is in the center of Ohio. It's like the butthole of Ohio. So, which I don't know what that makes us. I guess the kneecap of Ohio, the right kneecap of Ohio. If you're facing Ohio, and if Ohio is facing away from you, and then we'd be the left kneecap. But in any case, yeah. This issue with drugs has been a long time building, and this is the result. Women are more likely to get prescribed these medications. Men are more likely to get injured by them. And I don't know where she was getting her drugs, but you can buy them on pretty much any street corner. People get these prescriptions and they sell them to dealers that sell out of their houses. It's not like with drugs like pot, where you get big bricks, the size of like the bricks that your house might be made of if it's a brick house, or bigger, and then they dole out a little at a time. They might get this delivered in a McDonald's bag full of little bottles of pills, like my neighbor used to, and then they turn on a red porch light, and 50 to 200 people will visit them in a single day, and everybody goes in and buys a can of Coke and leaves. and they leave, apparently drinking out of that can of Coke, and inside that can of Coke is a little bag with their pills. So
Hmm.
that's how she probably got her hands on this shit.
Well, I just want to add that I think the idea what's that powder that you can blow in somebody's face and kill them or turn them into zombies?
Scopolamine.
Scopolamine, that sounds like a really cool move for a death themed luchador. And
There you go.
that's something I want to see. Like El Caballero de Muerte, and he just blows it, and then the guys get possessed. I'm making light of something dark, but it just seems to all fit together. I don't know what you guys think. And the movie I was thinking of is actually right here. It's called Promising Young Woman, and I remember because Allison and I covered someone who was talking about these kind of like these are feminist movies, and they're all like these really violent revenge fantasies, usually directed by young female directors. This one was directed, co-produced by Emerald Fennell in her feature directorial debut. Fennell is a British writer and director, starring Carey Mulligan as Cassie Thomas, a 30-year-old medical school dropout living with her parents and working a dead-end job as a barista. It's a dark, powerful, mature revenge comedy that attacks rape culture and explores themes of justice, trauma, and forgiveness. So she basically takes revenge on men by going to bars, pretending to be drunk, and then the guys, they take them home, and of course I guess I've never seen the movie, but I guess they all like try something which is like evidence that to condemn men and justify her murdering them. So yeah, Promising Young Woman was the thing I was thinking of. Somebody mentioned another movie. I think Gabriel said Last Night in Soho. That could be. There's a lot of movies like
There's a
this.
long-standing tradition of
Yeah,
this.
these feminist
Some of them
revenge
are
fantasy
more
movies.
graphic than others. Like if you go
Hmm.
back to I want to say the 70s, you have I Spit on Your
Oh yeah,
Grave,
I Spit on Your
which
Grave.
is
Sure, yeah, there's a bunch of those. Yeah,
pure gore. It's disgusting. And somebody showed it to me because she thought it would make me feel better about my experiences, and I'm like, no, I really wish I didn't see that.
yeah,
It wasn't even a good movie. It wasn't even a good B movie. Like I usually like B movies, but that one was shit.
yeah.
And
Sure.
Amazon has a series called The Power that is, I think
Oh
it's
my
still
god.
running right now, that is
Yeah.
just we
Well,
probably ought to do.
there.
There's a guy that contacted me to watch this,
Yeah.
suggesting that maybe we should do an episode. We probably should do some
Oh my
episodes on it
god.
because the
Yeah.
themes in it are horrible. And
Well, there's that show that Kim Kardashian is in. That's like really new. That's a.
no, I didn't even know
It's
she was in a
yeah. I
show.
can't remember what it's called. I think it's like All's Fair, and I
I
guess
thought her
it's
profession was taking pictures of alcohol on her butt.
no. No, well, that's one. That's a side gig.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, it is a long-standing popular tradition, but and I'm not suggesting that this serial killer was like watching these movies and took inspiration from it, but it is interesting that we celebrate this stuff and
She does have the same attitude though, and that
yeah.
attitude is long standing. Women have this idea that if they just blame everything that they experience on men as a this like non-human entity population
Mm-hmm.
thing, a unit as opposed to like men be having as much individuality as women admit women have, um, then they're justified in engaging in violence, taking out their anger and frustration and embarrassment and whatever else they might experience from the consequences of their stupid choices on any random man, and it's getting their own back because a man upset them at some point in their life, and men are to blame for blah blah blah, and therefore this individual man, even if he has done nothing to them, is part of the guilty population and deserves whatever she does to him. That's something that's been going on for a long time, and women have been getting away with it for a long time. There have been men that have been you go girling it for a long time, and
Uh-huh.
that needs to stop too.
Yeah. So anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I'm gonna read some super chats that went through. Allison sent them so I can read them. But first, I got a super chat from Zeranx, who gives us $5 and says she could have been a famous rapper. Cardi C will have a whole line of them, the whole alphabet. Yeah, exactly. And then Meredith. Okay, I already read that one. We got another one from Zeranx for 5. He says regarding the learning center. Pushback says their hours are 2 to 10 p.m. Destiny brought this forward. There was a man interviewed in front of the building that said they're an after-school program and that was closed when Nick Shirley showed up. It's plausible that they could be innocents grouped with bad eggs, but there are still accusations that neighbors saw no kids visit the building for 8 years. Yeah, like normal, but again, I don't buy that. And Destiny, really, Destiny.
Yeah, there's a daycare center across the street, down the street a little bit, but across the street from my house. All right. It is in its own building. It is it was built specifically to be a daycare center. And the building looks like it was made for kids. It doesn't look like the building that was pictured there. The windows are not blacked out. There's an outdoor playground. You can see on different days at different times that there are children playing outside because they go outside for recess. And it's a far cry from what we saw there. That building does not look like, by any stretch of the imagination, a daycare. And if I had kids and I was going to use an after-school program or a daycare or anything like that, when I walked up to a building like that to register them, I would turn around and go right back out and go someplace else, because there's no way I would trust a place that looked like that. And I don't think most moms would either. It doesn't look anything like a place that is designed for kids to be.
No. There was nothing that suggested that it was a place other than that little sign that had the misspelled title. So it looks like a scam, but we'll see whatever the investigation reveals. But I'm not holding my breath that it's going to be like they're going to be in the free and clear. Reaper of Chuds.
I'll tell you what, if I saw a place like that with the windows blocked out, I'd be worried that the kids are being molested in there.
Yeah, yep. Well, I said they bust in a bunch of children. I'm like, well, where do they get the kids? But because that's weird too. But anyway, Richard Bier also sent a super chow and says $5. There was a TYT segment where Anna Kasparian claims that this scandal benefited Israel because it distracts from the expansionist agenda and other shenanigans that Israel is behind. Yeah, well, look, that is just like two things can be true at the same time. Like Somalia could be robbing us blind, and Israel could take advantage of these things to essentially support themselves and enrich themselves.
If a meteor hits the Earth, Brian, it's just a distraction from Israel. You have to understand that.
Yeah. Or it's patriarchy.
Nothing else in the world is happening or is allowed to happen except the things that we are supposed to be upset with Israel about. Like if all of a sudden we discover that the sun is a giant electric machine and somebody flips the switch and turns it off and we're all going to die, that's just a distraction from Israel's shenanigans.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works.
So we don't.
The Jews are a distraction. The Jews are a distraction from Muslims, and the Muslims are a distraction from Jews.
Yes.
Fuck them all.
All right. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We got to move on to the last story. All right. So, Elizabeth Jamie Love, pictured here, 36-year-old transition coordinator and teacher of the deaf at Educational Service Unit 11 in Holdridge, Nebraska, and her boyfriend, 42 or 43-year-old Jared Kraus, were arrested on October 4th, 2025, following an investigation into alleged sex trafficking of a minor. The case began when a 16-year-old female high school student, whom Love had instructed since middle school, reported inappropriate interactions with the couple. According to court affidavits, the grooming escalated over months. The student overheard Krause expressing sexual interest in her during an August phone call, with Love allegedly saying she would be willing to share him. Love asked the teen inappropriate sexual questions. On October 11th, Love picked up the student and brought her to their home, where Krause allegedly led her upstairs and propositioned her for sex, which she declined. Love reportedly gave the teen $100 afterward, which she claimed was a gift for a phone, not hush money.
Yeah, it's
Text
totally not hush
messages, not hush money. I swear. Text messages between the couple reportedly discussed seeking our person or our girl, and even foster care options, indicating premeditation. Both were initially charged with one count of each of sex trafficking a minor, a Class 1B felony punishable by up to life in prison and mandatory lifetime sex offender registration, while Love faced an additional count of sexual grooming by a school employee. As of late December 2025, additional serious charges, were filed against Love, including first-degree sexual assault of a child, 2 counts of second-degree sexual assault of a child, intentional child abuse, and witness tampering, all high-level felonies. The multi-agency investigation involving Holdridge Police, Phelps County Sheriff, Nebraska State Patrol, and others found no evidence of other victims at the time but encouraged tips. Love was placed on administrative leave from ESU 11, which serves multiple South Central Nebraska schools. The couple remains in Phelps County Jail on high bonds, with the case ongoing and drawing national attention for the abuse of a position of trust.
No matter how heinous a crime is, if enough people get away with it, it becomes effectively not a crime, because it's effectively not enforced, save for the occasional case of which is made an example, and then no one even talks about it except the likes of us. Kind of like male genital mutilation. For the longest time, before the Jews and the Muslims turned up, it was a crime. Even if it wasn't officially a crime enforced by the authorities, it was enforced by common law. If anyone was caught genitally mutilating a child, they would not just get away with it. They'd get thrown in the stocks at best and hung, drawn, and quartered at worst. But then the Jews and the Muslims turned up, and they were like, no, you don't understand. We are special people with special laws. We don't have to abide by your infidel ways. And everyone was like, okay, I guess we can't argue with that for some reason. Tell you what, we'll call it something else. Instead of calling it what it is, genital mutilation, we'll give it a fancy sort of geometric medical term like circumcision. And now it's a completely different thing, and it's perfectly okay. And then the practice began spreading to Christians and atheists and all sorts of other people, safe in the knowledge that there's somehow nothing wrong with it. And now it's widespread, and no one gets arrested for it. Even though it is a crime, at least in the UK, officially, technically. I mean, if you perform it on your own child in your own home, it absolutely is an enforceable crime, no matter how meticulously you might be doing it. And if anyone tries that, they will be made an example of. They will indeed be arrested. It's just that they don't need to go through the rigmarole of doing it at home, because the government will do it for you, free of charge, and they will never be arrested for it. Just like in theory, female genital mutilation is a crime in the UK, and it does take place in homes in many an Islamic stronghold. They don't have the option of having it done in hospitals because it's a crime that is actually enforced. And in theory, those who perform the operation at home should get arrested for it, but they seem to get away with it. There goes the Overton window. It's only a matter of time before FGM goes the same way as MGM. It'll be ushered into de facto legality because it's so much easier than actually applying the law to these backwards barbarians. And yeah, it's kind of like when women rape children. It's a crime that seems to be happening more and more frequently of late, but that's not to say it never happened before. We live in a society, yes we do, a society that has always turned its back on children who are raped by women because we define rape as something that cannot be committed by women. We don't even need Jews and Muslims for this one. They have this problem too, but they weren't the ones to introduce us to it. It's as old as the hills. If enough people get away with crimes, then those crimes are effectively not crimes. Just like if we don't call it genital mutilation, and if we don't call it rape. Sure, there will be some people who are made examples of, like those who commit child rape with a male accomplice, or those who commit it against girls. Such people will be the first on the chopping block. But I don't even think we at Honey Badger Radio go scratch the surface of many women, especially teachers, but women in general, are out here raping boys all the live long time. And I hate to say it, but I see it getting normalized before it ever gets properly cracked down on. Especially when conservatives and liberals alike are all happy to go, lol, nice. He enjoyed it. It was a gift. I mean, we're already there, aren't we? Damn near 100% of genital mutilation crime.
Mike, did you drop?
Will never face justice. Oh.
No, you did.
Did
You
I?
dropped for a second, but go ahead. Yeah. Will never face justice is where he left off.
He's still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your microphone is cutting out.
Oh. I don't know why that is. Well, I've generally finished anyway.
All right, Hannah.
I guess the thing that I'll point out here, is the lack of accountability for women isn't just in the legal system, and it isn't just people going nice, and all, like that. That is a thing, and it's been a thing for a long time, and it's unfortunate and needs to change. But this headline, for fuck's sake, allegedly offered to share boyfriend. When you look at what actually happened, that's not an offer, right? That is the same thing, the same kind of thing that Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of trafficking for doing. She brought a student to her boyfriend for sex. They didn't force sex on the student, but they could have. But it doesn't matter if they, in terms of it being an illegal act, it doesn't matter if they went on and committed another illegal act or not on top of it. It's still an illegal act. It's soliciting. And if the student was a minor, that's soliciting a minor. She brought a minor to her home for the minor to experience solicitation of sex from an adult. That's what happened. She didn't offer to share her boyfriend. She attempted to groom and exploit a minor for sex and to traffic a minor for sex. And the headline makes it sound like she was being all cutesy and flirtatious because she's female. If a man did this, no such headline would be published. The worst possible way that it could be phrased for his reputation would be how it would be phrased. The headline might just be in all capital letters, like that one New York Times headline when World War I started, the war, and instead it would say wood chipper. Right? There would be no sympathy for her behavior. There would be no trying to cushion the blow the reader feels when they see that this woman was trying to traffic and molest a young person. It would be plain, clear, simple language. Every time any media outlet does this, they need to hear from you. Fox News, on the comment section of this article, needs thousands of comments that just say, what the fuck? This woman attempted to traffic and groom and molest this student. This is what Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted of doing, bringing young women to a guy, an adult guy, for sex. And you guys phrased it like she did something cutesy and innocent. That needs to stop. It doesn't matter whether it's left wing, right wing, trusted news sources are doing this even. If Newsmax does it, call them on it. Right? If the Epoch Times does it, call them on it. If Fox News here has done it, call them on it. If your favorite, most trusted news source does it, call them on it. Don't just do it to the other side. It is messed up and dangerous that we fall into euphemisms and cutesy language and portraying it as flirtatious and innocent when women are sexual predators, or when sexual predators are women. Right? It's extremely dangerous, and it's dangerous in multiple ways. First of all, it takes recourse away from the victim. It is hard to get people to help you stop your perpetrator. If people think think of your perpetrator as just playful and cute, right? Instead of being a predator. It is hard as hell to get people to recognize you as an injured party if people think that what your injurer did was playful and cute and not malicious and harmful. These women are monsters. They are every bit the monsters that men are when men do this. There's nothing better about a woman doing this. There's nothing more innocent about a woman doing this. There's nothing playful and cute about grooming a child or a person that is under your control, a vulnerable person with a disability, a communication issue under your control, right? That is not playful and cute. There's nothing lesser about that just because a woman did it. It is every bit as predatory. It is every bit as malicious. And it is more dangerous because that individual was taught to trust women. The people that individual was more likely to trust are now untrustworthy. And that individual has additional injuries on top of every type of injury that you experience when your perpetrator is male. Right? When you experience this from somebody that you expect to not hurt you, that you rely on to be a trusted confidant, a trusted mentor, a gentle and kind person, because they're the fair sex, they're the gentle and kind sex, or they're presenting themselves as your friend, and they turn on you like that. You guys have probably experienced some sort of betrayal in your lives. Everybody has had that friend that turns out to be a giant dick or an asshole or a cunt or whatever, right? Everybody has that. But imagine finding out your friend is a monster. Imagine if your friend was in charge of you and you find out your friend is a monster. Imagine your friend is your mentor, someone you trusted to help guide you through your life, and you find out that person is a monster. Like, the further you go into it, the further you go into the relationship between a student and a teacher, and then the student learns all of a sudden that this teacher is a monster, the more nightmarish it becomes for the student. And it changes you for your whole life, the whole rest of your life. Your trust is broken in a way that you become untrusting for the rest of your life. Right? That happened to me with a fellow student, a friend of mine when I was a kid. And I'm not going to go into the details, but I will tell you that I have never been a trusting person ever since then. I don't trust people. Right? I don't trust anybody except my husband. Right? I have a fraction of the trust for my friends that I should have. And I will never be able to fix that. There isn't enough therapy in all of existence to fix that. And that wasn't even somebody who I trusted as a mentor. It's just somebody I trusted as a friend. I can't imagine what this student must have been feeling in that moment and thinking in that moment, and how it's going to change her for the rest of her life. And when these women do this to whether it's to a boy or a girl, it creates a schism. The person that walks out of that situation is not the same person that walked into it ever again. It is far worse than when a man does it. It isn't just not as bad, it is worse. And yet we pretend that it's playful and cute. Every news outlet that does this needs to hear from as many of you as possible. Call them on this bullshit. Don't let them do this. Don't let them feel okay doing this. Contact their advertisers if they don't stop doing this. Ask why they're advertising with a publication that treats sexual predation as playful and cute just because of the sex of the individual who does it. There needs to be a public pressure campaign. It needs to be never acceptable, never given a pass, never allowed to slide when a woman does something like this. Ever.
All right. Well, I think you guys basically covered it. So I guess, yeah, that's good. Let me just see if anybody put any super chats in. Looks like nothing so far. So we're going to go ahead and go into the patron show now. We're going to look at this channel. It's called Hawk Podcasts. And, well, we'll at least watch this one video in the after show. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, if you guys want to join us for that, then go to feedthebadger.com and set up a monthly subscription. $5 a month will get you into the Discord where you'll be able to watch all the additional content. And if you give it higher levels, you can actually join in the conversations themselves. So please consider doing that. And if you just want to check out the, like the community generally, then just go to badgernation.online and join our Discord there for free. And you just talk to the people there and see if this is a community that you would like to hang out more in. So anyway, with that said, we're going to go to the patron show now. I want to thank Hannah and Mike for joining me and giving their commentary and thoughts on these stories. And I want to thank you guys, most of all, for hanging out with us. And yeah, so if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed in the show today. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News. Have a happy new year, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.